Hey there, this is Darren, founder of Denzity. Sit back and enjoy this Denzity Lens episode, where we distill the best advice from digital experts and help real estate professionals like you to build an effective online presence and become the best version of yourself. This is our very first Denzity Lens episode, and we're excited for what's in store. We invited our trusted marketing agency, 4HK, to celebrate with us and also give you some strong ideas on digital marketing, specifically for application in the real estate sector. 4HK is a boutique advertising agency setting out to provide a performance-based solution for brands. Besides offering marketing solutions to the startups and SMEs, they host workshops to teach entrepreneurs and founders on how to grow their businesses. The founders, Patrick and Andrew, are also co-founders of LimeHK, a Hong Kong-based acceleration program focusing on early-stage ventures. With this much experience in both digital marketing and startups, we cover many topics during our interview, such as the struggle of real estate companies transitioning to digital, marketing funnels, digital marketing KPIs, and how you should do video marketing. We hope you will have a better idea of how digital marketing works after this episode and be able to take your businesses to the next level. We're happy with the tips and insights the 4HK team has shared. On behalf of the Denzity team, thanks so much for being our very first guest of the show. Your dedication speaks strongly to the team's passion to help pull the startup community together. Digital marketing is a vast topic. The 4HK team has done a great job to give people some ideas on the why, what, and how of this big field. Some topics certainly could have been more addressed in depth, such as the importance of understanding the marketing funnel and more examples to illustrate what can go wrong in digital marketing. And of course, more on digital marketing KPIs. I feel we can chat more on those topics the next time we have another Denzity Lens interview. We plan to break the full interview into multiple episodes and post them once a week. We will also share our thoughts on each segment to give you some guidance. Feel free to reach out to the 4HK team to chat up as well. As always, you can find everything we mentioned in this episode in the show notes, including our thoughts, more about the guests, and all the tips and tricks. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button like you mean it to get our regular updates. Now, take a deep breath and buckle up for the show. Hope you enjoy. So hey Patrick, Andrew, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yeah, we talk a lot about this show, right? Because in Denzity, we really want to showcase to real estate agencies or professionals how to go online. So thanks so much for coming in.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah. So so you're my agency, and I think, for us, myself, I actually started learning about digital marketing only a while back. And then the more understanding is so interesting because a lot of real estate agencies and professionals really just start getting online since COVID. So what's the reason behind it? Because you work with a lot of real estate agencies and professionals. What do you know what's the reason and what is the reason behind why it takes so long to start adopting online?
Yeah, just to kind of share my thoughts initially, because I think everyone thinks that online is more of a way to kind of get more business. Mm-hmm. But I think at the end of the day, the reason why people are going online is because the market's kind of shifting in the sense that, offline retail and obviously having people to kind of visit physical retail stores has been kind of pushing marketers and obviously business owners to kind of pivot to an online ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And then, obviously having Facebook, LinkedIn, all these Google platforms, they provide these tools for us to kind of use, but at the same time, everyone has access to it, but not everyone has the right mindset or knowledge to kind of use them effectively in that sense. So my thought is that, everyone's pushing online, but are they doing it correctly? That's kind of the big question. That's why
we're here, right? So Andrew, Patrick, right? So how's your experience working with real estate, companies and so on?
Right. I think they have many obstacles, I think to implement those digitalization to their path, and there are many challenges they are facing, but they don't know who to find to solve their problems. Mm-hmm. Yeah. First of all, of course, they have, several considerations. First of all is their priority of work, every day. They need to, close the deals, building the business traction, they forget about digital marketing because it's quite passive, something. So they need to, close deals, see their clients, finding potential leads. That really costs them a lot of time. So they don't have time to focus on marketing or think about branding. This is one thing. The second thing is they are really, I think perspective-wise, they are really focused on trying to do things it worked before. They don't want to change. They want to try new things. So marketing is very new things to them. So they are very hesitant to try new things. They're just trying the old school way.
Wait. So you're just telling me that they cannot do something because they never tried before. It's kind of like a loop, right? So it's like they never tried it, they never get on it. So how, for example, in your experience, right? What is the usually people's like excuses, or are just being lazy, or like why the money is too expensive? What is the usually like they would say, hey, XYZ, I can't do it.
Yeah, there are quite a few, quite a few things. For example, like they don't have time, of course.
Okay,
a lot of time. I need to invest my time on closing deals. I don't have time to do marketing or think about branding. This is one thing. The second thing is I don't know how to do it. I don't know what is, for example, social media. I don't know what is Facebook. I just know how to WhatsApp people or call my client. So what's up with the social media or the email marketing? So this is the second thing they are really always telling me, to pause or to not to do marketing.
I see. So for people like, I actually want to talk about Denzity Lens because this is our first episode to learn what's going on. So for us is that because for the past half a year, everyone was like, oh, Darren, you're starting doing YouTube, you're doing like a lot of content, and I think a lot of people want to kickstart to get a taste of it and try it out. So let's say if someone, a personal level or a company level, they want to build online presence, what is something that you can suggest them to kickstart? Like, let's say try it out for 3 to 6 months, and then how they should plan it as a expert like yourself to consider.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, first thing I have to do is kind of do their homework first. Like, obviously, having good content nowadays is not enough. Obviously, knowing kind of planning for the short term and the long term is very critical in terms of all marketing. Obviously, it's not just marketing, for your whole business as well. So short-term goals, long-term goals have to be realistic. And from my experience is that we should never compare someone else's benchmark with your own, because obviously competitors, they always have different things on their mind in terms of like resources, time, all these other stuff. So I'm just thinking, when you're doing short-term planning or long-term planning, always kind of just use your own benchmarks and have your own data and kind of improve upon yourself. Otherwise, you can never play catch-up. There's always going to be someone better than you, and there's always going to be someone worse off than you. So when you're comparing with others, it just really depends on how, like, which side you're on. So it's best to just kind of learn and improve from yourself.
This sounds like a life lesson.
Yeah,
it's
right.
No, it's
it sounds like a life lesson, but I think
I know. I mean, it is more. It's about like thinking about what you can do the best, right? Because like marketing is so broad. Just like from Facebook, Instagram, WeChat, WhatsApp, even anything you can do. So there's such a broad thing, and in my head right now, it's like, hey, how can you, like, let's say Swire marketing will be different than a boutique real estate agencies, right? So, okay, so let's say this, right? Let's say someone who wants to kickstart. What is something that they should get on right away, or something they should try ASAP?
You mean into the social media or online?
Anything, just marketing, build a branding. Let's say we're Hong Kong, since we're in the Hong Kong background. What's something that they should try it out to experiment or even to explore further before they put a lot of money in it?
I think like me and Pat, we always kind of advocate like performance marketing, and I think search, like SEM search, is the main kind of channel, right? Exactly, to really test the waters. Because I mean, you don't really lie to search engines, right? When you search for like food that you want to build or try, you just type that into Google. Whereas with a physical form, you can just kind of like blur your answers, so the results aren't really accurate. So the good thing about search engine is that it's always accurate and genuine. So the reason why we always advocate doing search first is because you get a taste of like what the market is like in terms of like how many traffic is the industry that you're in popular, is it responsive, how many people are searching. So you get like a gut feeling before you start really planning and spending the cash.
Right. At the same time, search engine marketing, you can get lots of data because people like searching honestly, in the search engine. So you can get those search terms, search volume, how many clicks, and you can also calculate the cost per click because Google, for example, it charge per click. So you can really like limiting your budget and utilize those budget for the traffic. So I think we suggest always SEM, search engine marketing is the first thing to go to get information or to convert some traffic first to see, to obtain the data. Yeah.
So before we kickstart, right? Because talk about SEO, SEM. Like, what does that mean? Like a lot. Actually, you're the one who taught me more about what's going on. Like for an audience that might not even know what that means, would you mind telling me more? And how do you think about that?
Right. So there are so many search engines in the world, but let's take Google as an example. So SEO, really, search engine optimization, is a method, to improvise and to improve your website, to make sure it is more like Google or search engine friendly. So to enhance, to increase your visibility in the search engines, so that of course the main objective is trying to make sure your website rank higher and higher supposedly in rank 1, but it is in a theory, of course. But SEO is the way to improve your website, to make sure Google loves your website and rank you number 1. So it's very important, but it is not instant way, because you need time to change your website, to improve your website, and then it takes time for Google to crawl your website and then to rate your website. So this is one thing. So SEO is like a continuous, sustainable, retainable effort, to improve your sites. For SEM, on the other hand, it's like a very instant. For instance, a marketing effort, you actually put your test ad in the the top of your organic ranking. It's like top of the page. You use the Google advertising platforms somehow to show your test ad, show your image ads, for example, like that. By building keywords, picking up good relevant keywords to beat, that is something you can really just pay it and then show your ads and then get your traffic. So this is the SEM part. So say for example, even Apple computer, Apple these days is so large, so huge, right? They still use SEM plus SEO all together to make sure they have a very dominant position when people search about iPhone, Mac, Apple, whatever. They have the dominant information position. Yes.
I see. So I guess it's kind of hand-to-hand work together and stuff like that. Because even the way you talk about search engine, Google, right? Obviously the big giant, Goliath, right? It sounds like even Facebook, Instagram, the same logic. Am I correct?
They're trying to. I don't want to say they're trying to mock, but they all can get the taste and the benefit from those algorithm, launching the algorithm in their search engine. Of course, it obviously helping their users to search things within their platform, but at the same time, they're adopting the similar logic into their own search engines. So I think the SEO right now these days also apply to not just Google, also in YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, even MeWe, the new thing, LinkedIn, all of them are trying to improvise their algorithm. So advertising agency like us can really helping different clients to do the SEO on those platforms.
The way you say it sounds so straightforward, easy for you, because when I look into SEO, SEM myself, I was like, what does that even mean? I was like, what the F is that, right? So I was curious too, right? It's just a side note a little bit, because I'm from Hong Kong, always thinking about maybe one day go to China, right? And then being Baidu friendly, obviously a different art. What do you think of Baidu? Is it worth it? How do you do it differently? And obviously, I'm sure there's going to be a huge essay if you want to talk about how to do it. But what are some kind of quick tips for you from your side?
Right. First, Baidu is the only. I think it's the major search engine you can use in China. You can use Google, legally. And for Baidu, first of all, you need to have a simplified Chinese website for sure. If you want to have a good ranking in the search engine, and then you need to implement some of the tactics. For the SEO tactics, for example, you should have a relevant content with simplified Chinese keywords in your website, and at the same time, you need to be very mobile friendly these days. You have to. And and you also need to get some license from the Chinese government to have a proper official Chinese website launching in the mainland. So these are the tips. Very similar to Google SEO, but at the same time a bit different because you need to have a different language to use and different kind of tactics and be very mobile friendly. Yes.
Wow, I didn't know it's that technical. Like it sounds like, so that means that like if you're like, no, there's no simplified Chinese in your website, you can't be crawled by Baidu then, am I correct?
You can still crawl by Baidu, but the main objective is you want to attract Chinese audience, right?
Yeah.
So the more Chinese audience flow into your website, you can get higher ranking. So if you just purely use, for example, like English or Spanish, so that you can only target those minority of Chinese visitors or citizens. So your ranking will be much lower. So I not recommend. You need to have a simplified Chinese website.
I see. By the way, guys, for audience to learn about crawling is not what you think. Actually, let me try to crawling. So crawling is like, program machine, copy and paste to get the wording. Am I correct? Is that how you explain it?
It's the search engine sending the bots and crawling your website and the data, the metadata, and then ranking different things. That is the robot and the crawling part. So
as a real estate guy, as a professional, one big giant and one big thing that everyone don't even know how to do right is LinkedIn. So what do you think of LinkedIn? Like, is it like, because like, you know how LinkedIn is very different than Facebook, Instagram. Do you think it's like overrated or is it even effective? And then like, how would you suggest people to do it right? What's something that, or actually one more thing is that, is there something that you think is people should stop doing that is like, they're not doing good at all?
I believe like LinkedIn is a very effective platform still, a very important platform for B2B. And also a good platform to build your professional image. You can share professional news, industrial news, business news. I think you still need that. But at the same time, I encounter so many people, they misuse LinkedIn as a show-off platform. Always like, speaking of themselves and always posting news that are not really related to the industry. I suggest people should really focus on engaging with people, delivering business values. And back to the days, LinkedIn wants to provide a platform to connecting people and to make business. So I think we should come back to LinkedIn and really connecting different business partners and creating new partnership, collaboration, something like that, but not really showing off myself. Today I got a cert, I got a certificate, I graduate from MBA, happy for me, clap for me. No, people really need to trying to understand or read more or absorb more industry valuable information. Yes.
It's interesting because like, now think of it, right? It's like, I never really asked, right? Because, and by the way, you can be honest, what do you think about LinkedIn game? And by the way, you know that how I think, like, I don't really try too hard. I don't really care about just kind of promoting myself, like MBA. I don't have one in the first place. Actually, what do you think about LinkedIn game so far?
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Oh my God. All right, okay. Hopefully give me a free advice. How you advise us to do better?
I think what you're doing is okay. You're on the right track and keep delivering quality content to your audience. Building a good professional profiles for your company and yourself, and really deliver insights. I think it's very good.
Like the show.
Like this show. Yeah.
No, it's great because we can have like a off scene on talk about more detail how to do better, and please give me some free tips.
Whiskey, right?
With whiskey and red wine, whatever you need, right? So next time, if we do round 2, we gotta do like a whiskey everything here. So how we're so big in video. We are doing video right now, and I'm a strong believer, and I think that the whole industry is going towards that. And I know that we have another guest that want to talk about more about DIY videos and all that kind of stuff. But before that, what is the suggestions to make videos, campaign content, and then how do you think for someone to if someone want to launch a project, like a real estate project or some kind of thing, how would you suggest them to, start and try it out? And then actually, because one more thing, I'm getting too greedy, ask too much stuff, but a lot of real estate people, we realize from Denzity Insight is that they actually have really, really good knowledge but they don't know what to talk about to do the videos, right? So all that, how would you suggest someone like a real estate professional or even a company to think about their video launch and so on?
I think for video production, to create a video content, first of all, you need to really understand your brand identity, your brand message or your brand image. That is very important for your video creation part, because you can create your video in a very creative way, but at the same time you need to deliver the core message out, and at the same time you need to really stick with your company image.
So there's something that I've always want someone like yourself, an expert, to talk about is marketing funnel. Like a lot of my friends always talk about what is marketing funnel? I think it's kind of silly they don't understand the concept. Would you mind explain about how that works and why it's so important?
Yeah, for sure. So basically a marketing funnel, to understand your customers, and it's actually better it saves a lot of times on both sides of the party, meaning the clients will get to know and understand your brand a lot more easier. And for the clients itself, they get to understand their customers a lot better. And using an example is that if you're going to a mall and you're looking to buy sneakers, quite often you would just go to the concierge and ask, where's the nearest, sneaker shop. So that being said, the concierge plays a role of, a funneling process where they point the shopper into the right direction. And quite similarly, if you actually have a brand in mind, for example, if you want a specific brand, you also go to a concierge and the concierge tells you, specifically where that store is. And it saves you a lot of time because you don't have to browse around, you don't have to look around. And kind of translating that to the online world. Basically, if you go to a website, and obviously the website could be very easy, navigated, could be very complicated. So having someone there as a chatbot or a customer service, they can actually point them in the right direction. Basically, going to your website. Someone who's never heard of your website, never heard of your brand, probably going to the About Us, going to what your story or your vision is, would kind of inform them a lot more about what you're doing, versus someone that's actually is ready to engage with your brand, ready to kind of convert. You can point them in the checkout page, so that actually speeds up the whole process. And the cool thing about having a a funneling process is that you get to know exactly what stage each customer is at, and then you can have specific messaging or targeting to that specific and kind of move them to the end funnel, which is obviously being your customers at the end.
I guess it's interesting because a lot of my friends, when I talk about funnel, and they interpret it as Darren, we're talking about what's so much BS and stuff like that. Just have a website and then say you're interested or not.
Yeah.
But I think now I talk about the whole thing is that there's actually more process in between. You gotta build to nurture that and make them interest.
Yeah.
So I think, on that regard, obviously that's just one of the mistakes. Is there any other mistakes that people usually do when talk about funnel or building that whole transition and process for the audience?
That's a good question. I think as a marketer or as website builders, a lot of the times we're so caught up with the whole website, we often neglect how easy it is to find information, because obviously being the owner and the developer of the website, you go, I know where to find this information. I know where to go. But for someone that's completely new that comes to the brand, they probably would need a lot of time to kind of figure out where they should go. So having that I mentioned, that funnel is kind of letting them to find the right information very easily. So it's a really quick way for them to kind of understand your brand and your value. And just going back to the question, how to actually plan. I think in a sense you have to have someone to give them a very personalized or bespoke experience. So having a sales team or a support team online really gives them that way of trying to help them. So it's nothing very candid or very template. So having someone, a real person, to help out with any questions, inquiries, or just navigating through the online world is going to be a big help in driving sales.
But there's one thing that before we go,
Yeah.
I want to ask about KPI. Your KPI, obviously, you can elaborate for the audience if you want to. A lot of people just think that you launch a lot of content, you launch a lot of things, and that's all you care about.
Yeah.
How, as a marketer, would you mind explain more about how you think about that? Because that affect just now before about funnel,
Yeah.
talk about campaigns, quality campaign, and video care about. So how would you suggest to kickstart for someone to easily understand the KPI and
the technical aspect of it.
No. So KPI is actually just really performance indicators for us to kind of measure how effective our campaigns are. And having a good KPI is actually very fundamental in kind of achieving really good marketing success. A lot of times, like I think the most common mistake for a lot of management and a lot of owners is that they set the KPI, they're looking at the end, which is like obviously the sales. What drives the company forward is profit. But before we do that, I mentioned earlier with the funneling, each funnel should have its own KPI. And basically, if anything goes wrong in between, you can quickly go back and trace back to that spot and then fix it. In a sense, for example, if the website is very difficult to navigate and people just leave right away. So obviously you're not going to get sales, but obviously a lot of common mistake is like, why is no one going to our website? Because obviously if you go back up the funnel, there's something wrong with your website, so people are leaving. So once they actually fix the website, you fix that KPI, and then you go on to the next one. Is it the product's pricing? Is it because it's not unique enough? So I think having a KPI is good. But you just don't look at the end results. You have to look at each step of the way, and then make sure you hit, all the KPIs on the funnel, and then you'll see where the problem is, and then you can go fix it.
So let's say I elaborate a bit better, right? In terms of like, I want to use like a case study in terms of like, let's say I throw this thing for you, right? My funnel, for example, social media, the interest level, going towards desire, which is the blog post, and get towards your homepage, for example. What is the KPI to think about when that transitions? What is the KPI you can set for yourself as a team, and think about like what is other type of different KPI that you can consider as well?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So I think just right off the bat, like maybe for your social media, I think awareness would be a really good KPI, just to see how many people are reaching through your social media. So once they have that intention, they go to your blogs to read more about it. So maybe the time spent on your blog, or maybe the number of blogs they've read, that could be another KPI to kind of measure the success of each blog. And then going to the website, so you can measure, did they click on the actual, call to action buttons? Did they actually, submit a lead? So that's another KPI I can set. So at each stage, you can tell like the KPI is very different, but then it's very specific for that stage. I wouldn't expect people to set KPIs for sales in the social media, but that's what a lot of people do, because they're like, oh, social media should drive sales. Yes and no. That's a question depending on your product or your sales cycle. But I think at the end of the day, you have to set realistic KPIs at each stage of the funnel.
So it's not only about the thumbs up and hearts, right?
Yeah, it's all about the thumbs up and hearts, and maybe we can just buy that. But yeah, definitely, there's a lot more to it.
I see.
Just hearts.
For Patrick, right? Let's say the real estate guys, common mistake, and I think we should do another show just called "Common Mistake Real Estate Guys Wake Up," right? So what is like the KPI that you think that another way looking at it, that a lot of people think that's the KPI, but it can be looked at a different way to better measure?
Wow, that is a good question, and also very difficult questions. I think the management or the owners, they always drive for sales. So sales is always their KPI. But at the same time, like what Andrew mentioned, I think we can also measure like duration time, the bounce rate, or this kind of matrix you can find in Google Analytics. It's very useful to justify or to measure, your quality of audience. Do they spend enough time on your website, or do they just come to your website and then bounce out? Meaning that they just come here for one page and then they leave. So I think this kind of matrix can also be the KPI for the consideration.
That's really good, and obviously I leave all the difficult questions for you on purpose. So we talk about, as I said, fishing for second or even third round. But what's kind of very quick takeaway that you think that people, the audience, should have from this whole series?
I think they need to think digital, because especially your audience and the target audience is the property guy. They need to think really digital and go digital. And at the same time, go digital doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of money. Even actually, you can reduce your cost of acquiring your potential audience. So I think this is some key takeaway. And at the same time, of course, for HK, our company can help. At the same time, Denzity is a very good platform, for the properties. So these are my takeaways. How about you, Andrew?
I think probably just communication, transparency within like campaigns. I think it's not just like with marketing. I think with all like departments as well, like working teams and management. I think having that transparency of information really helps dictate the flow of like each campaign. Obviously, everyone's working from home now, so communication. We're even trying ways to maximize that, right? So having that transparency and that effectiveness in communication. So that's what we're always striving for here at 4HK. Also, I think in another sense, they also have to have kind of work out execution-wise, like in terms of like the effectiveness. Because in my mind, like everyone has a really good idea. They could have a really good idea, but in terms of execution, like how fast they can execute it is very crucial. It's not just for marketing. I think it goes for like all business units, right? We have the same. Everyone's doing the same thing, but if you can execute it faster than someone else, then you have that first mover advantage. So definitely, I think execution is pretty critical in the whole grand scheme of things.
Another life lesson, not only marketing.
Oh yeah, but it applies to marketing though, right?
Yeah. No, but like, and also too, right? Because before we go, because we talk about a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like we're all startup guys. We all have a passion project. Yeah. Like for myself, my passion project is PopSec Institute, the nonprofit. And then for me is that like I want to know more about your Lime HK and your other things you're working on too. Yeah. So can you actually share more about the Lime HK? Like like how what's going on? And,
So Lime HK is actually a local run acceleration program. So me and Patrick were co-founding partners as well, and we do a lot of like mentorship, startup consultation, community building.
Here you go.
within the whole ecosystem. So we work with a lot of ecosystem builders just to help startup kind of navigate their way through, obviously not just Hong Kong, but the whole Asia region as well.
So so being in the entrepreneur world, like startup world for so long, how do you feel about 2021, and then how do you feel about the scene at the moment, both the marketing, and then the startup space?
No, that's a good question. I think a lot of times, like, you just have to be like open and listen to like a lot of different advice coming in, because obviously no one can predict like what obviously with the pandemic, how do you shift, how do you pivot? It's always good to kind of like be aware of new technologies, especially like disruptive technologies that can change industries. Obviously,
I got to put myself in there.
Yeah, there's obviously a problem that needs to be addressed. That's why entrepreneurs are kind of chasing that dream to kind of fix and become successful at what they're doing, right? So I think like success case wise, I think definitely have to learn and be just humble and kind of take what's on the way and just try to absorb everything that comes your way. Take advice, and just another thing is just probably just kind of really go at it, like have passion. Otherwise, like it'll be very difficult. On the days that you don't have passion, you kind of dream about, what if I took that path, right? So you just kind of believe in what you do. So I guess kind of like, I won't say like, but it's more of like understanding more about yourself and your project, and just kind of go with it. I mean, it's not much advice you can give, but it's more just like just believing in what your cause, and then hopefully you'll find something that will work your way, and then it grows to be the next Apple. Yes.
Whoa.
Obviously,
I just want this work. I don't think too far about it.
So hopefully, just having that right mindset will take you really far.
We're talking about next Apple. So next Joe Rogan, Patrick, what's your next thing? Like the thing you're working on?
Right, because we have so many good friends in startups, so we are trying to create a podcast and YouTube channel to interview different very good entrepreneurs like you.
Stop it. Yeah.
So be into our talk show, to share about entrepreneurship, tips, and also really sharing different kind of strategies so that our audience, our friends can learn from each other. Especially during this kind of period. So we need to help each other.
Was there a certain topic you want to drill down among those? Because I know startup pain, strategies, everything it can be very, very broad. And I'm sure all startup founders like us, we have something that really gets in our head that we want to be like, yeah, this is something you gotta do. Was there a one or two things that you have in mind?
Right, because I'm a strong believer, in bootstrapping. So I really want to learn more about how to turn 0 to 1. really to survive especially in Hong Kong. The cost of everything is so high. So I would love to invite and ask different kind of successful friends that how could they start their business at the beginning? How do they survive? What kind of tactics, what kind of technique, what kind of business model they think about, so that we can learn. I can understand more, and helping others, friends to absorb, to improve themselves.
I thought the answer is always just too stupid to understand how hard it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so okay, well, obviously thanks a lot for coming to the show. No, this is a great show, and thanks for being the first person, because I said before many times that we want to do this. Is something that is really yawning. Obviously, before I go, what's going on 4HK? Like, tell me, we're partners together. What's going on 4HK? What's coming up? The big project you can share with us. And obviously, I won't tell anyone.
No, that's a good question. I think 2021, we are going to focus a lot on kind of education, because we see there's a big knowledge loss and knowledge gap in between, obviously, not just internally, but obviously like in terms of like marketing wise, there's a lot of things that people are not understanding. So I think education is very critical in terms of helping them understand. I mentioned earlier, efficiency in terms of like execution and also communication is very key. So I think things to look forward to, like the tools will be probably more or less the same, but the way that we handle it and the way we kind of go at it at 4HK, I think it's something that we're gonna keep on kind of refining and just making sure that we kind of be the best at what we're doing. So obviously, more startups, more clients kind of come on our journey with us to kind of like achieve maximum potential.
Yeah, I think that a lot of, even just now, we just really just touched a very broad stroke. Yeah. We haven't gone into detail yet. So I think that if you guys, obviously, I think you guys have a really good heart to really tell people what's going on. And a lot of people, not only in real estate, outside of that, everyone want to find out a way to really go online. I think you guys obviously one of the people who are already in the business for a long time, know what you're doing and want to even be better. And thanks so much. It's a calling, because as startup people, it's always a calling.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. So until next time, please come on board, and whiskey next time, I promise.
Yes.
And then, but it's on you though. I don't have the budget for this. I have everything already in the budget. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching. Majority of you don't stick around this far. So we're flattered and truly appreciate your attention. To return the favor, let us tell you our thought on this episode. We're happy with the tips and insights the 4HK team has shared. On behalf of the Denzity team, thanks so much for being our very first guest of the show. Your dedication speaks strongly to the team's passion to help pull the startup community together. Digital marketing is a vast topic. The 4HK team has done a great job to give people some ideas on the why, what, and how of this big field. Some topics certainly could have been more addressed in depth, such as the importance of understanding the marketing funnel and more examples to illustrate what can go wrong in digital marketing. And of course, more on digital marketing KPIs. I feel we can chat more on those topics the next time we have another Denzity Lens interview. We plan to break the full interview into multiple episodes and post them once a week. We will also share our thoughts on each segment to give you some guidance. Feel free to reach out to the 4HK team to chat up as well. We have a more detailed version of our thoughts in the show notes. Beside that, you can find more about the guests and all the tips and tricks we have mentioned in the show notes too. Well, what do you think? Let us know in the comment section. Fun fact, do you know that more than 85% of you have subscribed to this show yet? Subscribe now to keep getting good stuff from us.